has given the most remarkable, devoted service to the Queen, to my family.
You are looking at Highgrove House, King Charles's private country home in Gloucestershire, a place built for quiet, not headlines. But on a Friday afternoon in July 2026, this house became the stage for a family reunion that Buckingham Palace kept almost entirely secret until it was already over. Before we go further, make sure you're subscribed, because this story is still developing and there's more to come. For 4 years, the Sussexes and the rest of the royal family have existed as two separate stories, crossing paths only at funerals and formal occasions. That changed on July 10, 2026, when Prince Harry and Meghan arrived at Highgrove with their children, Archie and Lilibet, for a private visit with King Charles and Queen Camilla. It was the first time the two branches of the family had been together since the Platinum Jubilee celebrations in 2022, and the first time Charles had seen his grandchildren in person since they were toddlers. To understand why this meeting matters, it helps to remember how far apart these two sides of the family have been. Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties in early 2020, moved to the United States, and gave a series of increasingly candid interviews and later a memoir, Spare, that laid out years of private grievances in public. Relations with the palace, and particularly with Prince William, grew colder rather than warmer in the years that followed. The one real exception came in February 2024, when Harry flew to London after King Charles's cancer diagnosis was made public. That visit was brief, tightly controlled, and widely seen as a moment of thawing driven by circumstance rather than reconciliation. For over a year after that, public contact between Harry and his father was minimal. Against that backdrop, a multi-day, multi-person visit involving Meghan and both children is a meaningfully bigger step than anything that's happened since 2020. It's also worth noting that this isn't the first time speculation about a possible reunion has surfaced. Over the past 2 years, various royal commentators have periodically floated the idea that age, illness, and the simple passage of time were softening positions on both sides, only for those predictions to go nowhere. That history is part of why this particular meeting has generated so much attention. It's the first time speculation about reconciliation has been backed by an actual, confirmed event rather than anonymous hints about private talks. Buckingham Palace confirmed the meeting took place, describing it only as a private family occasion. By design, that single line was almost all the public was meant to get. According to reporting from Sky News and other outlets, the visit came with strict conditions attached. No photographs, no social media posts, and no advance leaks to the press. The Sussexes reportedly agreed not to describe what happened inside the house, beyond the palace's brief confirmation that the gathering had occurred. That level of control is notable in itself. It suggests both sides wanted this handled carefully, away from the usual cycle of leaks and counterleaks that has defined most Sussex-related stories in recent years. The timing wasn't random either. Harry had already been in the UK earlier that week for events marking the 1-year countdown to the 2027 Invictus Games in Birmingham, a cause he founded and has remained closely tied to regardless of his royal status. That prior visit put him back on British soil for a legitimate, unrelated reason, and it appears to have opened the door for something bigger. A sit-down that royal watchers have speculated about for years but rarely believed would actually happen this quietly, or this soon. What makes the meeting notable isn't just that it happened, but who was and wasn't in the room. Neither Prince William nor Catherine, Princess of Wales, were reportedly present. That detail alone has fueled plenty of speculation about where things currently stand between Harry and his brother, a relationship that by most accounts remains far more strained than Harry's relationship with his father. Whatever progress this meeting represents, it appears to sit specifically between Harry and Charles's household, not the wider family, and some commentators have pointed out that William's absence may say as much about the current state of things as Harry's presence does. Queen Camilla, on the other hand, was there. Reports describe her making a fairly hurried trip from her own estate, Ray Mill House, to join the gathering once it was arranged, underlining how last-minute and tightly held the whole thing was. Camilla's presence is itself part of the story. Harry has been openly critical of his stepmother in the past, most notably in his memoir, where he wrote about the difficulty of adjusting to her role in his father's life and described a complicated, at times adversarial, dynamic. Her decision to be there, and reportedly to stay close to Charles throughout, has been read by royal commentators less as a social nicety and more as a deliberate choice. One widely cited theory from royal biographer Sally Bedell Smith is that Camilla's role was less about hosting and more about presence. Someone in the room to support Charles through what was likely an emotionally loaded encounter with his estranged son, much as she had been during Harry's visit after the king's cancer diagnosis became public in 2024. In that reading, Camilla functions almost as a steadying presence for Charles rather than a participant in reconciling with Harry directly. Someone whose job, in effect, was to make sure the king himself was supported through a difficult conversation, not to broker peace between Harry and the rest of the family. That framing matters, because it reflects a pattern that has developed since Charles's diagnosis. Illness has repeatedly nudged this family toward moments of contact that years of public feuding never managed to produce on their own. The king's health has, by multiple accounts, changed his own calculus.
About time, distance, and the cost of estrangement. A private, low-key reunion at his own home, rather than a stage-managed public appearance timed to a state occasion, fits that shift. It's the kind of meeting that happens when someone decides the personal cost of continued distance has started to outweigh whatever institutional or reputational reasons kept the two sides apart. For the children, this was simply a visit to their grandfather, and that's likely the real point of the whole exercise. Archie, 7, and Lilibet, 5, had not seen Charles in person in years, a significant stretch of their young lives. Whatever the adult's history, giving a king in his late 70s real, unphotographed time with grandchildren he is mostly known through occasional images is, on its own terms, a fairly human story, one that doesn't require picking a side in the broader Sussex versus Palace narrative to understand or appreciate. Inevitably, tabloid coverage since the meeting has gone further than the confirmed facts allow. Various outlets, citing anonymous insiders, have claimed everything from tense exchanges to pointed warnings supposedly delivered behind closed doors, including claims that Camilla laid down conditions for any future contact. None of that has been verified by the palace or by any named, on-the-record source, and it's worth treating those specific details with real caution. They're exactly the kind of claims that are easy to invent, impossible to check, and convenient for outlets covering a meeting that was deliberately kept off the record. When a story is this tightly controlled by design, that control creates a vacuum, and vacuums tend to get filled with speculation dressed up as insider knowledge. What we do know from confirmed reporting is this. The meeting happened on July 10th, 2026. It was private. It took place at Highgrove House, and it included both King Charles and Queen Camilla on one side and Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet on the other. Prince William and Catherine were not part of it. No photographs or official details were released beyond Buckingham Palace's brief confirmation. Everything beyond that, the tone in the room, what was actually said, what conditions may or may not have been discussed, is still speculation, however confidently some outlets are presenting it as fact. Looking ahead, the real question isn't really about this one meeting. It's about what follows it. Royal reunions of this kind rarely function as a single, decisive turning point more often. They're tested by what happens in the weeks and months afterward. Does another visit follow? Does William eventually join in some form? Does the relationship extend to public appearances? Or stay confined to private, unphotographed gatherings like this one? Those are the signals worth watching, far more than anything printed under an anonymous insider byline. Whether this becomes the first step toward a broader thaw between Harry, Meghan, and the rest of the family, or stays a one-off, quietly arranged visit, is genuinely unknown right now. Royal reconciliations have stalled before, sometimes right after moments that looked promising at the time. Reputations on both sides have been shaped by years of mistrust that a single afternoon at Highgrove isn't going to erase on its own. But the fact that this meeting took place at all, arranged this privately, this deliberately, and involving the children on both sides, tells you something the public statements never will. After 4 years of visible public distance, someone on both sides decided it was worth the risk of sitting in the same room again. We'll keep following this story as more comes out. If you want the next update as soon as it's verified, make sure you're subscribed, and let us know in the comments what you think this reunion means for the family going forward.